Vacation right down there, I think.
Well, his thing, I think, is a personal thing from somebody else.
Yeah.
Well, I know because the first time I talked to him
That's what
about it.
I told him, man. He's been out of that picture
Yeah.
for so long, it's not even funny.
Yeah, and that's trying to put his reasoning at the first time I talked to him. And it's had.
I know, I remember you telling me, yeah.
He's long gone. You don't have to worry about him
I
anymore.
mean, nobody wants him around at all.
You know,
Oh,
we've had some, we've had some rumors and stuff floating around about our department off and on for the year, through the years, because we've removed volunteers in the past, and they seem to have a habit of track. We had somebody come up the other day that said that we didn't have insurance coverage on our vehicles, which we absolutely do. So, you know, in fact, we have extra coverage. The last couple of years, we had friends with VFIS and got more comprehensive coverage. So,
I don't know either. I think the fellow showed up.
Yeah.
rumors,
Yeah, yesterday we were going to go to
Facebook.
or something.
Oh, boy.
Said they closed.
We love these rumors, don't we?
That's essentially just.
Or we're getting ready to close down or something like that.
It wasn't like,
He should have brought him over this morning.
yeah, he did, yeah, he did. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's all day.
Suppose you can come over to the office after this and look at a little problem I got in that south parking lot.
Yep. As long as we stay in the parking lot. Don't want to come inside.
That's fair enough.
They have a nice little padded cell for you.
I need one after this weekend. No doubt.
You just let it loose in there, huh?
It's starting to settle down now, though.
Yeah.
Now people's patience are running out now.
Sure.
Great,
The
my
news wore
road.
off.
I need this, I need that.
I'll tell you a story after the meeting.
What would it take for us to tap into that water? We have to pay for that pipeline?
No, we have to pay for a meter, have to put a meter on.
$800, one
Yeah,
month.
$800.
That's it?
Yeah.
More away?
He's hopefully holding one for us, but
You get your,
he's got to
Certainly
get
do that.
confirmation on us, to make
did
sure
you get
we're
the
allowed.
agenda there, Kay? I saw your name on there.
What?
Did you get the agenda? I saw your name.
Yes, thank you, Troy. You're welcome.
He screwed it up, was he? Everybody.
Three, two, one. Call this meeting to order and flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, any citizen desiring to be heard?
I just want to say, you know.
Would you introduce yourself?
I'm
please?
sorry. David Franklin, I'm the secretary of the board for the Center Volunteer Fire Department. I just want to say thank you to Troy and Laura. I know they get tired of repeating themselves over and over and over again for each fire department, but they really helped us out a lot. I don't know how many trips we had to do to Laura with this bid, but it was more than one for sure. And I just want to say I appreciate all their help putting it all together. That's all. I just want you guys to know we appreciate them.
Thank you, David. Any other citizens? Hearing none, consideration and possible action on approving minutes of May 15th, 2015.
I'll move to approve.
So,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Item number 5, discussion with Under Sheriff Craig McCleary regarding Senate Bill 456, which allows a fee to be added to civil case filing to be used for courthouse security.
All right, good morning.
Good morning, Craig.
A few weeks ago, the governor signed Senate Bill 456, goes into effect November the 1st. Amends Title 28, which is a pre-existing law that has to do with civil filing fees. If you look at page 3, you'll see the amendment. It gives the Board of Commissioners the authority to assess up to $10 per civil case that's filed in our courts. My reading of this is it can range from $1 to $10 at your discretion. We would ask that you consider approving this and make it the full $10. The funds are only available to be used to enhance or improve courthouse security. It can't be used for anything else. The court clerk was kind enough to provide me some statistics from a couple of years. Going back to 2013, there were 1,610 civil cases, and the last page of your document has these figures on it. 2014 was almost 18,000, and this year she's on track for in excess of 16,000 or 1,600. I'm sorry, and you can see the associated dollar figures that go with it. That's a small dent in the funds that we could use over there, but $10 is better than one in terms of.
Right, so there's no fee attached to it now?
There is not. Criminal cases have a fee already in place, $10 a piece. There are no fees currently for civil cases. Effective November 1, we have the ability to impose a fee for filing a civil case.
The funding for the security now for the officers up there now, where's that now?
It comes from our office, and I think you're still
From that fee.
partially in it too.
From the criminal fees?
Correct.
Okay.
Criminal fees, regular criminal fees.
How much does that generate, the criminal fees, do we, approximately?
I didn't prepare that figure. I don't know. It's not. Do you know?
I can give you an idea.
I was just looking for kind of a ballpark. Of
Well, I can tell you this, it doesn't generate enough to pay the monthly salary of one of the deputies
Yeah,
out there.
yeah, this doesn't either, I was just curious,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a couple of things. We're prepared to chip in, obviously, but if we can get you guys to impose the full $10, that would help us as well.
Chairman, are we at a point where we can consider this as a proposal? Or is this
Well, it would be a
piece-
proposal, because
would it be
it states here
scheduled-
only a discussion.
Scheduled for action?
There's no,
Nothing goes into.
There's
effect
nothing in
till
here
November
on
1
action.
anyway, so.
Okay.
so it's something that we need to consider.
I would recommend that we bring this forward at our next meeting for action.
Right, but we can discuss it now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, but
Virginia,
I
you got
think it warrants
anything?
some,
We need more assistance especially during dockets. There's absolutely zero respect from not only defendants, but the public in general when they're in the courtrooms. They sit back on the back row out of hearing of the judge, basically when they're trying to conduct court, and they're calling them names, they're acting out, they're on cell phones, you name it, they're doing it. Out in the hallway, we've had to call the deputies up because they destroyed blinds in the small courtroom on juvenile day. They set up on the bench, they play with the microphones, they play with the jail monitors. There's no one to monitor them. There's no one to help keep control of what's going on in the courtrooms. We've had fights in the hall, and the guys are downstairs, and when we need them, one can come up, and if they're not available, then someone from the jail has to come. But we need someone up there, especially during dockets, which are just about every day. I don't know, society has changed so much that the need for more security is definitely there.
And you're unable to supply extra security up there at this
My
point.
intention is to hire, if we get this done, my intention is to hire a part-time guy that can be there on docket days, like she said. Those fluctuate. I don't think I can justify putting 3 guys in there on days when there's nothing scheduled in the courtroom.
Exactly.
So I can do a part-timer on the days that they're needed. That's my intention with this fee, unless somebody else has a better idea.
No, we may want to consider a sunset on this so that we can come back and revisit this in somewhere in the future too, versus just putting a permanent fee on there.
Well, I'll definitely read over it, but I don't see a problem in it.
I don't see a problem with it.
That's all I ask is you guys to consider it, and if nothing happens until November, so you've got that much time to make a decision.
Do we have time to get this on the agenda for the first?
No, sir, it's already
So
posted.
do the 15th, be
We
the
can
next?
put it on the 15th.
Thank you very much.
Craig, is that meet with,
Pardon?
does that meet with your timetable?
Sure.
15th?
November 1.
I'm just looking to see if we needed to, talk about a special meeting or something.
Anything you need between now and November 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we could do it in September, October. All right, moving on to item 6, consideration possible action awarding bid 2015 SD09 for one new commercial pumper tanker for Cedar Fire Department. This was tabled from our last meeting on May the 15th.
Not only are they here, they did write a letter asking the board regarding a recommendation on the bid.
Basically what the letter says is the lowest bidder bid a truck that you already have on the lot that did not meet the specs. So we wanted a 1250 GPM pump so we could work towards lowering our ISO rating. And the lowest bidder had a truck already on the lot with 1,000 GPM pump. And we actually called him and said, is this a typo? Does this really say 1,000 when it should say 1250? And he was like, no, it really says 1,000 because that's what I've got. And we said, okay, you're out. Thanks anyway.
So it didn't meet the bid specs.
Didn't meet the bid specs. So we moved up to the next highest bidder. So that's what the letter says essentially.
Because this affects your ISO rating, this is a.
Right, our goal
this
is to get a
critical issue.
Yeah, it's critical. Yeah, it's not because we wanted a 1250, it's because our goal is to lower our ISO rating and there's minimum required equipment on the engine.
Right. It's not because it was painted blue instead of yellow.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Exactly.
I'll read that money.
Yeah, I mean, it's $20,000 difference, so we would have loved it if it was lowest bidder, but we just
Well,
didn't
I
do it.
appreciate you writing the letter, and I would move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Just so we can clarify, I need to find which vendor name.
Oh, it's in the letter, but it's,
Well, motion's passed.
Cooper Creek.
yeah. Yeah, I wanted to say Copper too, but it's Cooper. And the amounts are in there as well, so it's $235,000 plus the $10,500 for the pump and roll capability. Again, working towards ISO rating. So
What do you know on ISO?
we're on 9.
Still 9?
9, yeah. Yeah, we still have a long ways to go, but this is a huge budget item for us, so we don't want to buy something that's not going to work towards our eventual goals.
Exactly.
There-
What do you think the average is throughout the county on the ISO rating?
Uh,
6. Most of the departments are at 6.
Yeah, I mean,
7, somewhere in there.
we're title 19, 18, excuse me, not
18.
And the other departments that, get the property tax valuation have a lot more money and stuff. So our station's unmanned. And,
In Meridian are 19, but they don't have any alarm going to them.
Right, they're
I think it'd
19
work.
somehow. I'm not sure exactly how they did it, but
yeah.
I don't think they get the extra or something.
They don't get the extra, but they're able to put in for retirement
Yeah, yeah.
into that retirement fund, which hopefully retains a few individuals. So,
They're tied to a municipality, that's probably the difference.
Yeah.
you're probably right. Probably right. So, that motion passed, and congrats.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care of my house, I'll need you.
We'll do our best.
You
Where you live now? Y'all have a nice.
I'll fix that road.
Yeah.
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 And get that pipe going.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Item 7, consideration and possible action on awarding bid 2015-15 for demolition of items on Coltrane Road right away. This is tabled for May the 15th.
Chairman, after conversing with ODOT, Mr. Ben Mitchell sent us the updated information that the lowest bidder would have to sign off on. Basically, it was an asbestos abatement certification, and that they had NEPA certified people to do that. And when we sent that, we were okay with the bids. Benny was okay with the bids, as long as the lowest bidder signed off on that. Well, being a good businessman, this lowest bidder, which underbid the other two by around, yes, a bunch. So he is a smart businessman and asked to see the other competitive bids before he signed the authorization. Once he saw the other bids, he asked for it to be rebid, which is within his right, because that contract language wasn't exactly contained in the bid language. So we request to take no action on this item, and we'll send it out for rebid. We're going to send it out for rebid. It will end up probably costing us more money, but that's the way it works.
Sounds good to me. No action.
No action.
All right, moving on to item 8. Consideration possible action on awarding bid 2015-17 for one or more trailer-mounted pothole patcher for District Number 1. This also was tabled from May the 15th.
Right. Again, this was for District 1. Well, District 1 imposed, I guess anybody can buy off of it. We went back and we recommend the bid with the diesel engine, the 22 horsepower diesel engine, instead of the 14 horsepower Honda gasoline engine. That total price is $54,165.61.
So it wasn't the one bid?
It was the only bid.
Only bid.
Yeah. It was the only bid. We bid it with two different engines on it, a gasoline engine and a diesel engine.
You want to do it?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Item number 9, consideration possible action on acknowledging receipt of tort claim from Buddy Wickham et al. And forwarding to ACO County Claims.
This is a claim on the sheriff's office. It has been sent to ACO. Your only action is to acknowledge the receipt.
Oh, darn. Make me work.
Before I'll make the motion that we receive knowledge of the receipt.
Holy smoke.
I was thinking somebody had a pothole or something.
They found a pothole in Logan County.
Well, in District 2.
Well, if it's on sheriff, they figured it was something else. But
A week and a half ago, I was very concerned about potholes. Now I'm worried about bridges.
I quit worrying about my bridges are gone.
I don't have a problem with them going to claims. I'll second that. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. On to item 10, consideration and possible action on approving claim in the amount of $3,800 for Melberger Brawley for engineering Beaver Creek Bridge project, SDP number 45 in the hole, and encumber from CBRI.
It started out when the state was still over our CBRI, and this is a claim that I need to pay. And there'll be a few more. I think we finally come to an agreement on the right of way, and this project is going to move forward.
So move, just bridges.
You as
Second.
chairman will sign that one there.
All in favor, say aye. Everybody said aye?
I said aye.
Carries.
I approve. Said aye.
I'll say aye.
You said aye too?
I will say.
Item number 11, consideration possible action on approving resolution on accepting $1,000 donation from Piper Farms to District Number 3 for gravel on Air Depot between County Road 60 and State Highway 51. Is that really still Air Depot, or is that Pine?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Today it's Air Depot, but some of them call it Pine. But the signs say Air Depot.
Really? Interesting. I'll check with ACOG, 911, see. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you again.
Well, change that name on there, you get everybody mixed up, they'll go down there south of Plum City or something. Item 12, consideration and possible action on addition, deletion changes to the CBRI commitment list.
I sent the ledgers out by email. I didn't know if you might want some to look at while you're discussing it, so I brought you some copies.
I asked Troy to put this on the agenda. I got a project
There's 2 ledgers there.
overlaying Cooksey Road west of State Highway 74 for a mile and a half. On the 6-month bid, which we can still use at this time, the project's $175,000. I got $100,000. I was needing $75,000 for that project. And I was gonna see if you two would consider letting me get it out of the CBRI account.
What kind of interest rate you will?
Well, I was thinking about 0.00.
That's pretty much what we're getting at.
Good rate. That's a pretty good rate.
I'm just trying to get this project done.
You need 70?
75, I got the 100.
How soon are you gonna need that one?
Well, for me to encumber the money, I mean, you gotta do it for the end of the fiscal year,
Okay.
so this month. I didn't know if we could work it in this or not, so put it on the agenda.
So we have 360 in there now.
And I can tell you where last month I told you all we've received our lowest CBRA funding, we've now came in even under that. We're gonna add $16,000 to the account.
Great.
Good.
Yeah, I just saw that today.
Wow.
Yeah, without objection, I move to approve the request.
But let's run through this.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, before.
But I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, I don't see a problem with it. We've got the money. I mean, unless all the CBRI funds that have been appropriated so far all belong to District 2, which I don't think so. You see, I think it's, I've done a little background on it.
I do want to ask you, when you brought this up to me, we had 2 issues with Beaver Creek, and that is we had allotted $8,000 for right-of-way. We've now exceeded that, so you wanted to add some engineering and right-of-way cost because of Beaver Creek. And I didn't know if you still wanted to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that's gonna happen is, but to settle that right-of-way problem on Beaver Creek, which we just paid the engineer for, you know, they upped the money what they wanted for the property. So what we have in there, Troy,
We
8?
had 8, and I think we're at about 12 as actual cost.
Additional 4.
And then engineering.
I mean, if I have to, I'll pay the engineering out of my M&O. I mean, I guess I'm grateful for getting 75.
What
But I
all do we
agree
have
with that all.
allocated?
Well, I think it comes to shift to where the rest of the other districts have had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
Is
think
that
it's
on
being
this
greedy at all.
second
I think
sheet?
you want your fair share, you know?
Yeah. And, I mean, I agree with that. If you look at District One's commitments and District Two's, I mean, I think I got room on mine.
and they're spread
I
out
agree.
fairly well, which, Chairman, to answer the question you just asked me,
That's why I had no problem.
they're spread out fairly well.
So, on the commitment list, I guess I would like to add make it instead of 12,000 on the, right of way. And what was it, another 3,800 on the, engineering?
I think that'd be
I think the
appropriate.
balance after that invoice is listed on the invoice.
Well, the total plan was 34, but I think it's another 3,800.
I believe it will be in another 3,800.
So if we can add that on the commitment list in 16, you know, it might happen and it might not, who knows?
All right.
And that would be 2016?
Yeah. So it'd be, I mean, 2 more thousand on the right of way, because we're at 8 now, so just bump it up to 12.
At 4,000 new. That's what I have, and I have add a 3,800 for engineering costs to Beaver Creek in 2016.
Either one of y'all got a, I mean.
I have no problem, no issue
No,
with
that's-
that at all.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Absolutely.
I'll make the motion.
there anyone
I'll
else?
second it.
I want it. All right, I'll second his motion.
No.
You got anything
You
you wanna
second
add,
the
or-
motion.
I
All
just want to
those
make
take
sure
off.
the other two districts
good.
didn't have anything they wanted changed.
Sure.
No, I really don't at this time.
Oh, yeah, I got a mile I love, never mind. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. On to,
Should ask for 175.
Zane.
We'd have talked a little.
Zane?
Thank you, guys.
You bet, no problem. All right, consideration possible action on the budget process used in Logan County.
Well, I
We
didn't
changed
put
it
this
a
on
few
the-
years ago.
I didn't put this on the agenda.
I did, and I sent some handouts. Did those get
Well,
around?
they were attached to email, I don't know
Yeah.
who.
Okay, well, just in case I have to bring some.
I did read
I
that.
printed
here's-
this one, I didn't print the 80 pages.
Here you are. Slide one down. There we go. And.
Hey, Sherry, can I have one more, please?
Here, I forgot about this one.
Never mind.
Craig,
As do I.
There you are. There's another handout.
Sure. Did you get a copy of that?
Down there.
yeah, I gave her Jerry. I still have some.
And here's a kind of a balance sheet over the last 4 years of what our estimate needs and budgets have been. Here's another hand. Did you get a copy?
No. No, that's not okay.
Well, so I asked to have this put on the agenda because after looking at the last 4 years, from June 2011 to 14, the cash balance, as you can see on assets, seems to fluctuate up and down. The biggest thing that caught my attention was back in June 2012, where we had a cash balance from previous year of a minus $500,000. Those were all things that had been identified in the last audit that we had back in 2010 that needed to be fixed in our budgeting process. It appears that it may not have been addressed.
Well,
And go ahead.
I tell you one thing we've done to address this problem We got rid of Steve Anderson.
Okay.
And let me point out, this 2012 is Steve Anderson.
Yeah.
So, okay, so, then let's talk about this. All I know about the way we're supposed to do budgets is what I read, right? And so I know there's also often differences between how things are presented academically and how they're actually conducted on the ground, right? Real world versus academic, right? So this is, the budget cycle, as I've been able to figure it out. There is no document that says this is the way counties without a budget board will do their budgets, because nobody's willing to stand up and tell a county this is the way you're supposed to do it. So counties are pretty much autonomous, as they should be. So it's up to us to figure out how we want to do our budgets. And so, again, I went through this budget cycle, and it appears to me that if we were to go through this and get to the point where the county officers, the county officials, once they submit their estimate of needs to the Board of Commissioners, then at that time, we would be able to go through them with a budget, with the budget maker, whoever that is, and kind of hash these things out, and then send them to the excise board for their approval. Because I think it's supposed to. Last year, I believe I remember attending a meeting where the excise board and the commissioners and everybody, and all the county officers were all in one kind of giant meeting and tried to hash through this stuff. And I don't know how that is supposed to work in this cycle, but
Regardless
I just-
if you follow this
I
little
just
flow
wanted-
chart, the problem is it was the budget maker.
So I just wanted to present this as a process that we might examine and possibly change or adopt as is, or change, but I think it needs discussion.
So what part do you want to change is my question. If you've never sat through a budget meeting, how do you know what part you want to change? Besides the fact that we changed budget makers.
And how much difference is there between this and what
What
we
we're
already
already
do?
doing.
I think Troy would be the one to really answer that.
I tell you, let's run through the way that we've always done it in the past, and then we'll compare it to this pie chart here. In the past, all the officers fill out their estimate of needs, including the commissioners. We always held it. Well, back in the past, I'll tell you what we got into, Marvin, when I first came in, the secretary of the Board of Commissioners would fill out our estimate of needs. And I didn't much like that. I thought, I probably ought to be a part of that. I think,
Yeah. And we did change that.
So we changed that where the commissioners would have a special meeting. We would go through the estimate of needs on our office, insurance, workman's comp, all down through the general government stuff. And then we present all of our stuff, or not the other officers give us their stuff. We kind of run through the numbers, and we all kind of work together to try to make it balance. And then we have our meeting with the excise board, give that to them, let them study it. Then we have a final meeting with the budget maker to see if we got the money to give everyone their deals. And if not, we kind of go through the room and who can cut what, and let's try to work together to make this happen. Roughly. Troy can probably explain it a whole lot better than I can.
The process wasn't the problem.
Right. You got to go back to 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem back in 2012, I'll take some of the blame for it. I mean, we hired Steve Anderson to do our budget. He prepared the numbers, and honestly, I didn't go through the numbers, and he can't add, and I should add it.
Right.
And subtract it for him. But being on a computer, I would think that computer would accomplish.
But when you hire a professional and you pay someone to do their job, you assume that that's what they're going to do. And so we learned the hard way is that we've got to double check everything that they do.
And another thing that happened back then is the Board of Commissioners, the county has some CDs, and we cashed in some CDs and used on the roads. And I never thought in my personal deal, when I got a CD in the bank, which mine would be a credit denial, but if I had a CD in the bank, I don't include it in my checkbook. So we cashed that CD in, not knowing it's part of the budget cycle, and use it on roads. And that's when everyone was crucifying us for using hospital money to fund general government. which we had to pay the CDs back. So really, we didn't use the money for general government. We used the general government money on roads, then we paid it back with the trust money. But anyway, that's what happened back in 2012, and part of that's my fault.
Yeah.
I'm 1/3 of the problem.
Yes, sir.
Mayor,
Sure.
to address, I think, looking at this chart, what we've typically done is kind of combine the process. Part of what it says up here is on the first Monday of June, that the excise board should have an estimate of probable revenues, which is actually impossible, and the state knows that. She, meaning the assessor, cannot file the assessor's report evaluations to the excise board till she receives the public service valuations from the state. That typically comes in about the third to the last week of July before we will have the assessor's report to the excise board. And it's because the state delayed on public service valuations. So valuations are what's gonna tell you how much money that you're gonna have as well as carryover.
So that's the state's approval of that, right?
Pardon me?
Is that the state's approval of what the assessor has recommended, or?
On the public service?
Right.
No, public
No,
service is done strictly by the state.
Okay.
And then they tell her how much.
So what's the variance from one year to the next?
It can vary a lot
Way,
due to lawsuits that are filed. Last year, we were told to anticipate a large decrease in public service because they were still, the state, hassling some lawsuits. And when it actually come down, those hadn't settled yet, and there was a significant increase.
But it can settle at
We're
any
never
time.
knowing what the state's doing with public service until they send it to the assessor. She can't file her assessor's report to the excise board without it.
And so the excise board cannot provide any type of estimate, not exact figure, but an estimate. at that
You could
time.
do a low estimate, or you could do
To be
a high
honest,
estimate
they've
on public
never
service.
given an estimate, and so,
So they've never followed this process, is what you're
Just
saying?
not in this manner, no. Typically, the way it has been is the officer report forms, financial statement and request for the following year. I send out to the officers, we get them back, copies come to the board. The excise board schedules a meeting to meet with each officer to hear what changes and requests that they have. And then we kind of sit in a lull state of the process at that point, waiting for the end of the fiscal year. The budget maker picks up all the numbers, waiting to get the assessor's report of valuations so that he can start formulating the dollars and cents of it. The budget maker will notify us that he's got basic numbers and we're either short and need to cut. That's where the group meeting has come, where the excise board has never really kind of wanted just to be the red pen. They've wanted the officers and everyone to kind of work together and hash it out, which is what we've always done. I have spoke to several reps with state auditors who have had no problem with us all coming together to try to do it that way. The auditor's issues with the budget in the past were on the numbers from the budget maker, not on the process that we use to submit our requests. However you all want to do it, that's all I can explain is this is the manner. The statute also says budgets are to be done, I think it's August the 17th, and that is absolutely
No one's ever had one by
impossible
that.
to do, and the auditor's office knows it.
It's a statute that needs to be changed.
You know? I was told by several reps of SA&I that how we got to being able to file a budget was not a problem for them.
Can you have them put that in writing to us then?
I can ask them.
I mean,
I spoke to
if
Marla
they're willing to
yesterday.
give us a get out of jail free card, I'm willing to accept it.
You know, well, and here's the thing, Marvin, I think you stated yourself that there is no hardcore statutory requirement for the process. Therefore, they're not going to have one.
Well, there are statutory requirements, but there are no hard, fast budget cycle requirements that a non-budget board county has to follow. What I mean is that every county that is a non-budget board county doesn't have to do their budget exactly the same way
Exactly.
as each county.
Exactly.
However, I think we probably, I would recommend, we kind of get back to how it's lined out. And if we can't do things at a certain timeline, then I would like to discuss and pursue.
Would be a report from the assessor.
We won't have
We
evaluations
won't
till
have
the
that,
end of
we've
July.
never had it till the end of July.
Again, with this, I'd like to chat with the assessor about that.
That's
Go through
fine,
those issues.
that's fine.
You think she?
What?
She's right
She
there, I
just
just
walked
saw her.
by.
Walk by.
But yeah, I mean, if we could follow the procedure, that'd be fine.
I guess I'm trying to understand why
This
there's a
says,
problem.
this says probable revenues, right? Probable, not, it's an estimate, it's a so you take what you did from last year as maybe a baseline. Maybe that's too high, maybe it's too low, but that's the probable estimate. You gotta start somewhere, right? If you don't start somewhere, then we're gonna still be ending up somewhere in November, December, trying to finish our budget and be another 3 or 4 months behind like we were last year.
Last
Getting
year's
involved.
difference into being able to file them at the state is I cannot file the budget with the state until I have all the budgets in the county, the schools, everybody. I was delayed waiting to get everyone's. I cannot piecemeal the filings with the state. I'm not allowed to.
Understand?
So that was part of the delay. The goal is September as we're done, let's sign off on it and get it done. I guess I'm not understanding why it's not a good thing for us all to come together, and if we need to cut $250,000 from requests, everyone who's got some skin in the game saying, you know what, it won't hurt me to give up 5,000 or 10,000 off this, or it won't hurt me to give up 5,000 or 10,000, and try to work together so that we're all balanced and no one gets hurt too awful. I don't understand why that's not a good process.
I don't either.
I'm not sure what you just said.
Well, you just said that everyone coming together and hashing it out was not the way it should be done.
It's not exactly what I said.
Well, that's the way I understood it, and I think others
That's the way-
did. Because what we've learned through the time.
There's no basis for that meeting. Who's in charge?
Oh, well, the commissioners are the ones who conduct the meeting.
Actually, the
But
excise
I'm
board
looking
conducted
at
that last
Actually, it's
meeting.
the-
item 3 and item 4 on this as being exactly what we do. And we
Like
combine
I
those
said, I think it's
together.
a combined process. And as far as who conducts that meeting, it's kind of, you're right, we all have an input. The budget maker's there with the computer and the screen and the numbers going, you've got to cut whatever dollars. And rather than someone who doesn't work in the offices and who isn't keenly aware of direct needs, taking a red pen to somebody, it's been a matter of voluntarily allowing the officers to make cuts before being forced to make cuts.
How's Tish today?
She was okay till I came in here, now I'm a little nervous. I'm good.
No, you're not on the hot seat, dude. Don't worry about that. But
Tish, what I was explaining to the board was in the matter of trying to determine our revenues available. You're not able to file your assessor's report to the excise board until you receive the public service valuations from the state. And typically that's the 3rd to
July.
4th week of July.
Right.
How come they're so slow about it, you know?
Well, we don't receive it from them. They're in litigation on public service. They are battling it out. And so last year, we didn't think we were gonna get as much as we were because of this litigation. But they sided on our side. I don't know why they're so slow, but I can't
so
do
when
anything.
that goes into the state, do we have a top and a bottom limit or parameter that depending upon how the litigation goes, it could cost this much, or is there a top and a
Nothing.
bottom?
They don't tell until.
Well, I mean, because you never know how something's gonna be settled, you know, for what, but for sure.
And there's a lot of other concerns that there's no top and bottom, that the laws are changing involving the assessment process. I don't know if you know anything about it, but it's gonna affect budget next year. There's 3% cap, you know? Well, there's some litigations going on that things may change. So, but no, they don't give me anything in advance. I get it at the very last minute that they take care of it.
last year, they were telling us to be prepared for like a 50% cut in, because of one of these lawsuits.
Right,
So we didn't know, we thought we were gonna be, we were
Right.
preparing for the worst.
right, but,
But it came out, they sided on our side, but we didn't know, so,
and they're continuing, there's a lot of them.
oh, yeah.
So I won't get that until July sometime.
Okay, so July, so, mid-July, so. August, what is it, August 17th, we're required to submit?
I
Financial
think that's
plan?
the date for the budget, but it's not possible typically.
Well, I mean, that's statute, that's law, that's, I mean,
And even the state knows it's not able for us to meet that.
again, a written get out of jail free card would help you.
Yeah, because they've never written us up to say you didn't meet your dates,
If they have written this up for bad process.
because of the budget
Not bad
maker, not
processes.
because of bad
They wrote us up for a
process.
budget maker's error.
Error.
They never actually put that in the audit.
I think you're gonna be receiving a phone call from the state auditor's
Already
office
got
next
one.
week.
Already
Okay.
got one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marla will be glad to explain it.
Because the process isn't gonna change the numbers that the budget maker
So,
screwed up on.
so if we're gonna follow this process, we need Tish to give us a number.
On what?
No, no,
Monday.
no, we don't need Tish to give us a number, we need the excise board to provide a probable revenue.
Their numbers would come from Tish.
Right,
And she's unable to give you valuations.
not me, the excise board,
Yeah. So
Fine.
how does Tish comply with the excise board?
that's between her and excise.
There you go.
Well, let me go get, I've got a book in
The
there.
excise board's required to meet prior to July 1st. We have them, there'll be a meeting scheduled, and typically that's when they meet with the officers and receive the estimated needs and the financial reports from each officer. I guess I'm not understanding exactly what it is that you're wanting.
I have a book that gives
Well,
me exact dates, let me go get it.
again, back to statute and requirements, I mean, all I know is what I read. But it says by the first Monday in July, the Board of Commissioners required by law to have a meeting and start this process. The Board of Commissioners, first Monday in July.
Okay?
And if we don't have,
And that
if
process
we-
would be to receive the officers' estimates of needs.
That's correct, that's correct.
Okay?
Which is, before they can do that, they've gotta have a probable revenue estimate from the excise board.
Which we've never been able to determine, you just heard why. So the officers fill out their wish list of what they're going to ask for. And then knowing that in all probability, there will have to be cuts made to the.
The individual officers don't build their budget off
Right.
of what we think the revenue's gonna be, they're gonna build their budget off what they're going to need for their office. And then we make cuts from that.
Really sound like the auditor needs to write up the excise board and the county assessor.
I don't know about all that.
Well, they're not providing us what we gotta have, so.
Well, I'm still not understanding
It's out
the
of my
flaw,
hands.
because the flaw that you're pointing out is a budget maker flaw.
I don't know about that. I think the county hired the person, and it's our responsibility to make sure that whoever we hire does the job that they're supposed to do. And if we have to hire a person because we don't know what we're doing, then that's a different issue.
And we did hire him and we did fire him.
I will give you the
Yes, you
example
did.
that I have had when members of the public have come in to ask about that situation. Every spring, you take your box of receipts and paperwork and whatever to your tax preparer's office. They prepare your return and they call and tell you it's ready to come get it.
Okay.
So at that point, if you are one of the 1 in 1 million that might then take back your box and look at every receipt and every tip and tack that you gave the person to prepare the return, or do you trust that you hired this professional, he used your paperwork, and you sign that return and send it in? It's really not any different than what happened with us with those 2 budget years of hiring a professional who failed in their job.
I'm just concerned that we don't continue to outsource responsibility for the budget. to
We've
somebody
made
else.
changes. based on what happened. And by your own numbers that you prepared, if you will look,
Those aren't my numbers, those are the come out.
the graph that you passed out, as far as the carryover cash balance, you will see the difference from 8,000 in one year to $1 million the next, because of the corrections that were made and the things that were done to overcome what happened with Steve Anderson. I still don't understand what that has to do with not having a group meeting.
So what part of the process do you want to try to change? I mean, obviously, we can't do nothing with the state. I mean, I can't make.
I don't, I mean, when we get to the first Monday in July, I'd like to have the county officers at the meetings.
And you will.
And you will.
That's
what we do.
always
We've always
done.
done.
Always have.
So with that being said.
How can that happen though, if we don't do it?
Because all they're going to
If they don't
submit
have
is
an
their
estimate of
request.
needs, if they don't
That's a
have,
request.
if they don't have the problem.
Marvin, what good would it do me to know that there's $5 million in a county budget? What's that gonna do with what I think I need to run my office? If this pot here, I'm going to ask for a little tiny piece of it. It's not gonna matter what that pot is, or Regina's, or Sherry's. We're gonna submit a request of what we believe we need for the next fiscal year. And if we need to add to our previous for new employees or whatever additions may be necessary that we feel. It doesn't matter what's in the pot, what we think might be in the pot at that time, because I'm not conferring with her or with the sheriff for my choices to add them up to see if we're close to that $5 million. I'm gonna submit what I believe I need and am going to request for my budget year.
Exactly.
That does not stop. I have the forms in my office as we speak, to waiting for today's meeting so that I can set out and get them sent out to the officers and get them back in to start that process. I tried to get the ones that the board compiles done last week and ran into a problem. So I'm sitting and waiting so that I can begin that. But you will have estimate of needs from the officers July the 1st.
So the commissioners, we really need to have a special meeting to do the estimate needs.
But
Do you all,
And so we didn't used to do it that way. Like I said, that secretary used to fill it out. And I didn't think she had any business to decide what our capital outlay should be and our health insurance. So, this ain't gonna work for me. We're gonna change it. So, I like having a joint meeting and, 3 of us fill it out. And we propose what we think we need.
That's
My
how we've done it.
budget, I have 2 budgets. My first one is already at the state, waiting to see what they're going to do with the court clerks. I could lose employees. It's a very big possibility. If that happens, then my budget here is going to change, because I cannot work with less employees than what I have right now. It's impossible. I'm down now. Don't know if we will refill that position as we're all together and doing the best that we can do. But if this budget changes, then this one will have to change. And I will have to increase employees paid through the county. So, as Troy said, it doesn't really matter what is out there. We're all responsible officers that if we see $5 million available, we're not going to abuse it. We only get and ask for what we need. It's always been that way, and hopefully it'll always continue to be that way.
And we've always helped each other out. I don't know what goes on in Tish's office as far as her budget. I don't know what Regina needs or the sheriff. But we've always come together and said, Regina's like, I really need computers. Okay, I'll give up a little bit. The sheriff gave up a little bit so she could have what she needed. And that's just, so we.
I want to follow the law as well as anybody. But there's a part of it, apparently, we can't.
Well, as far as this, I think we can probably
should be able to talk with the folks in the excise board and kind of find a way through this. Anyway, back to the, I mean, I just look at the processes. The process, it seems that's been continued since well before 2010. You go back and look at the financial audit for the county for 2010, and it talks about financial planning issues, budget issues, and again, management's response was to blame the budget maker in 2010. And then again, we blamed the budget maker in 2012. After management response says, we're gonna fire the budget maker and do a better job of overseeing what he's doing. Well, in 2012, we had a very large issue that came in. So in my mind, I'm thinking maybe it's, if we look at changing the process a little bit and getting back to what is recommended by the Oklahoma State folks that's responsible for county training, then maybe we can avoid some of these issues.
So it seems to me like your big hangup is these dates written in stone. So you're saying if we meet these dates, it's gonna change the bottom number?
I will point out that Steve Anderson's first budget for Logan County was done for the 9-10 fiscal year. And he did 3 budgets. So the period of time that you are discussing, it falls under him. The audit that would include the changeover from one budget maker to another has not been completed. So the responses in that were all still based on what was done with him and the work that he did. At no point, even in those reports, did it say the process that they chose to do was incorrect. Nowhere. Because they don't have a problem with us trying to work together as a county unit to do what's good for everybody.
And what they said was the outcome was flawed. And that's
Yes.
all, that's what they're.
A budget maker walked
that's
in
what
here
they're
and told us we had money to spend that we didn't because his numbers in addition were bad.
So what the auditor's concerned with is the outcome, not the process. If you get to the right outcome, you use a different process.
No.
As long as it's not illegal and ethical or immoral.
So the
then
auditor
we
can-
He walked in and said, you have X dollars to spend, and we spent it. And then come to find out his numbers of what was available to spend were incorrect. It had nothing to do with the process of how we got there. Now, once the budget maker that pulls all the numbers together, and we'll send them out, and you can go over every number with a fine-tooth comb. That has nothing to do with how we met to determine our needs for each office.
You just said yourself the process doesn't matter as long as you get to the right outcome.
It's the outcome.
So
I
I
said
don't,
the auditors believe that.
and you
I didn't
don't.
say I didn't believe that.
So the outcome has been corrected by getting a new budget, budget maker, who now seems to have great credibility. He does, 40 some odd budgets across the state, I think.
He does a lot of county and schools.
County and school budgets. And so now we have someone, I believe, that we can trust.
However, I will say that SANI told me last week that because of the problem we had with our budget under Steve Anderson, it actually changed the way the SANI are looking at budgets. And they have now found that there are errors on behalf of the budget makers statewide. Marla's words to me last week was, if it helps and makes you feel better, it's not just you guys that had budget maker issues and problems. We have went back and are looking and seeing that it is a statewide issue. But the fact he gave us the wrong amount of funds to spend had nothing to do with what I asked for or Sherry or any of us put in as a request.
I wish you would.
Well, on behalf of this new budget maker, he has made a gigantic improvement as far as the assessor's office goes. Because before him, remember when I came to your office and there was a report on how do we figure out each schools, and you didn't know it, I had to go to another county, and it was a big process. Well, he figures it all out and sends it to us. this past year it worked.
For your rebound.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfectly. And he did a lot of detail work in it, so I was really impressed with the way he did that.
So Marvin, you wanna talk to the excise board and see if they can provide us this?
I think, work together and not have to have a big spawning pond to get our budget worked out.
So that's your issue, you don't want all the officers coming together and talking about it?
So I'd be happy to talk with one of those folks or several of them on
Are
that
you
side.
not gonna answer my
Marvin,
question?
is that the problem? You don't want the officers talking about the budget?
I never said that.
That's what you just said, you don't wanna have a
Spawning
spawning
process.
process.
Spawning pond, yes.
What is the spawning
What-
process?
I mean,
Nobody's-
until you talk.
Nobody was in charge of that meeting that I saw. I mean, it was just,
And what's wrong with that?
it's really, I mean, then we go back to open meeting laws. I mean, there's all sorts of things that are wrong with
It
that.
wasn't an open meeting law, it was perfectly posted,
perfect,
discussed,
yeah.
and worked out.
Okay.
You want the power of the red pen, is what it's all about.
I
You
think-
don't want anyone to work together, you don't want anyone to come together and deal with it. You want the commissioners to red pen and send it to the excise board for their red pen, and we just live with it. And that's ultimately what you want.
I think that's presumptuous.
No, I think that's exactly what you're wanting.
I think until you actually sit through an actual whole budget process, then I would wait until next year to make changes.
Mr. Treasurer, I really don't want to sit through a budget process like I've looked at over the past few years.
You sat in one meeting,
Yeah,
I don't want to perpetuate that process, is all I'm saying.
like I said, it's not the process.
Right.
Are you
So-
prepared to do the whole budget by yourself? Are you prepared to look at the book and figure the numbers out and see what the budget maker's problem was? Because me and Troy have studied that budget for 4 to 5 years to try to figure it out. It is difficult. So are you prepared to do it by yourself?
I'm prepared not to say it's the budget maker's responsibility to prepare our budget.
Yes, it
It's
is.
the county's responsibility.
No, it's his, we did that. It's his responsibility to make sure the numbers are correct when he's putting the numbers together. That's what we pay him for. And if he can't do that, then we fired him, and that's what happened.
Do we know how many counties are out there that don't have a budget maker?
very few.
Very, very few.
I've never said we don't need to hire someone to assist us with our budget. But to completely outsource the responsibility for our budget to a budget maker and say, oh, well, he made the mistake, it was his fault. I don't support that.
But
Hey, I don't
you've
think
never
that-
made one inquiry as to anything before you put it on this agenda. You've not made one inquiry of my office or the treasurer's office to say, can I see some of those reports? How do those numbers come? Where did the numbers come from that the budget maker uses? What reports? You've not educated yourself in any manner.
Again, presumptuous on your part.
Really? You've not asked me for anything from my office.
That I haven't educated myself on the process is a bit presumptuous on your part.
Have you asked for anything? Have you sat down and looked at anything that's provided from my office or Sherry's, which is where those numbers generate?
From you? A few items, yes.
Like, because I haven't ran you any reports.
Okay.
So you're gonna talk to the excise board?
I would like to, yes, sir.
Okay.
Are you wanting to be on their agenda?
No.
So no action on item 13.
Well,
I
no,
believe it
no
was
action to
just
be
a-
taken.
It's just possible.
Oh, it does.
So no action.
Do I need to be here?
You're good.
Okay,
Thank you, Tish. Item 14, consideration of possible action approving the following temporary road crossing permit for H2 services. That'd be like all in Monty's turf.
I have studied these and I don't have a problem with them. I'll move that we approve, but if you wanna wait and look at them.
Wait, what we got? These road crossings?
Yeah. They're all in my district.
All right. You already looked at them?
I am.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Actually, Monty made the
Oh.
motion. I was needing you second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Is it cold in here, y'all? Am I just being
It is
lazy?
cool. It's like cool.
Freezing.
Get cold, but yeah, it's cold.
Calm down in number.
Dramatic.
So did I call for a vote on that?
Well, you keep signing, we'll vote. Everybody in favor?
Everybody in favor? Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passes. Item 15, consideration of possible action on approving resolutions appointing receiving officers for various accounts.
I only have one for District 1.
I'll move with approve.
All in favor?
I need a
Aye.
second.
Second.
Oh, I thought I heard him say that.
Assuming you were good with that, wasn't you?
Yes, sir, I was, since it's not one of my deals.
Motion carries.
That's why I assumed.
16, consideration of possible action on approving resolutions appointing requisitioning officers for various accounts.
I only have one for District 1.
I'll move.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 17, consideration of possible action on the consent agenda.
Payroll summary. Transfers, and I flagged for the commissioners, Commissioner Goodman, when this reaches you, this is a transfer for your department. I'll need your signature at this upper arrow, please.
Just get them all.
Check, see what I want.
Mitchell Mess and Boxer Bridge. What's he gonna do with that?
He's got two ponds on his property that he's gonna link together with that bridge, is what he told me when he brought that in.
Gorgeous. He's got a real nice place there. He's on Seward. No, it's just fine for aesthetic purposes.
question.
Mhm.
That Shine program deal we set up.
The
That's
pass,
the pass program?
Yeah, the pass.
okay. Looking at $25 fee.
Okay,
Whenever he gets done, I'll ask him a question. Judges just not utilized it, or is it something we need to do on our behalf, or?
it's going to, when I talked to you, did you ever talk to,
The DA?
uh,
Yeah,
Ian?
we had our meeting, and it was good with a $25 fee. I think that was the biggest issue, so,
okay.
you know, that's what we decided, whether it's in the
Okay.
minutes or not, I don't know.
In order for it to work in court, the assistant DAs, when they allow community service, they have to request that their community service be completed through the PASS program. And that a fee of $25 to be paid to the commissioners.
Okay.
So,
But it's not going to happen unless they specifically request that it be completed through that PASS program.
so I need to talk to the DA's office.
We need to
about
talk
that.
to DA's office.
Mhm.
I thought I had that conversation, but I haven't seen anything. Okay.
Yeah,
So you gonna talk to the,
I will. Should be coming
That's
up
something
our next.
that I could utilize here in the last
meeting.
week.
Pretty soon should be our next probation meeting. You know when that is, but you don't. I'll have to find out.
It seems to me though, on that resolution we passed, the fee was up to the judge.
it is up to the judge, and the
Was it-
DA will make a recommendation to the judge, and then the judge will determine what the fee will be.
Okay. Now, currently, a lot of these kind of services, they go through a private vendor, and they do the community service and keep on track of everything. But the county isn't included in that as a nonprofit agency
Right.
for them to, but is that going to then kind of go away, or are we going to still have that program?
It's going to be, we will still maintain that program, but it's going to be based on each assistant DA when they're sentencing someone as to whether they commit that person to the PASS program or just to regular community service.
I see.
If they're committed to typical community service, then they can go to the city of Guthrie and do it at a park. They can,
Church and,
right, they can go to the school, they can go anywhere that's nonprofit and complete.
But they don't have to pay for that? do they?
No.
Okay. So is there any way the county road districts can be included on that
With your
list they
PASS,
have?
that's what the PASS program
That
is.
is the PASS program?
That is the PASS program. So as long as they,
Well, I mean, just, they'd have their choice between everybody.
it will be up to, well, it will be to the district attorney. If they indicate that they are to do their community service through the PASS program, they can only do it through the PASS program.
Correct.
If they just order them to community service, again, they can do it in a nonprofit, not through the PASS program.
So we charge more.
Yes.
blankets. Did you meet with the DAs? Can you ask them?
Oh, no, I don't.
Why, I started this year still and I've done that. The amount of money that is paid by county general for housing juvenile detentions That comes straight out of the county general M&O fund under the
Up to
statute.
a $10
Statute
fee.
does allow that parents that have the means have to repay that money if the judge will impose it.
They're not able to do that now. And this money can only be used towards, without the kid. The board needs to establish
I
the
had to ask
fee
you
to
to
be
repeat this
$10.
because I wasn't listening to you.
We're asking for $10.
Because I'm gonna go meet with the DA. so.
County general M&O is spending
Reduce whatever we can.
upwards, sometimes more, $30,000 a year in housing and juvenile detention. The law does allow that money to be recouped if possible from parents of means. It cannot be for DHS children, but those that come from a home can be as part of their fines and court costs
I'm listening, not thinking.
made to repay those costs of housing their children, if the judge will do so. And, but it takes the judge to impose it.
Okay. I'll quit.
Did you miss that on purpose, or did you just miss that?
I dismissed it, I guess.
Thought maybe you just wanted to see if you could get Craig to squirm or something.
No, I'm just, I was probably correcting Mike.
Most
I
likely.
made a mistake myself.
I see
Most
that.
likely.
Been trying to get him off the exercise board on the commissioners. Y'all have a bunch of dry dirt piled up in there, do you wanna get rid of it?
Dry dirt? I don't think so. I could use some of it.
Well, I could use a bunch.
We got a whole bunch piled up and none of it's dry.
Yeah.
We need to get a little bit from that Love's project. Not gonna be that much yet. I got their hole they're doing for their CNG tank
Election board claim,
and scales.
same as every month. Chairman's signature, but they may wanna look at it before you sign it. I don't know.
Well, I imagine she wants it.
That's for us to get the
Yeah,
money back.
reimburse.
Yes.
Anything out of it?
They send us this amount
This amount?
back.
$34.76.
It doesn't cover all of that expense, but the majority.
Good.
And utilities for the court fund.
Can you pick up a little more of that?
No.
See that?
It didn't hurt to ask.
Alcohol beverage tax allocation.
Didn't cost much.
It could really help us out.
Yeah, I'm thinking margarita machine, first floor of the courthouse.
Oh, we've already talked about that. We're gonna put it outside Judge Jules' window.
My help proceedings.
On that, yeah, on the flat roof, we're gonna put a little awning, a little bar.
Oh, we thought, close got a little bit. I guess that license is gonna decrease a little bit. They go in the summer session.
Well, the alcohol beverage tax, the city of Guthrie got 8,967, Crescent got 1,241, Ball Hole got $197, Coyle $285, Marshall $239, Langston $1,517, Meridian 34 bucks. On Meridian,
They actually,
that goes to us?
as of right now, and for the last, I think we're going on probably close to 5 years, their checks are held. They do not have a treasurer. They do not have any bonds. We cannot forward their money. And it's a two-part process. The 3 districts annual or monthly receive forfeiture for the motor vehicle tax forfeitures. And it's divided in all 3 districts receive. It runs about $8 a month. But the other is done through apportionment, and those checks are actually laying in my lockbox and have been for years. However, because we did receive a summary judgment in our lawsuit, and Judge Corley did not deduct down to just the land, we received the summary judgment in total for all it was asked for. Lowell says the next step will be to lien all of this money that is laying in the lockbox and then proceed with a garnishment for it as it monthly comes in, but those are all long-term. But once that happens and we can claim, because we're probably at about $6,000 or $7,000 that has just been laying there for years because I can't send them any checks, that'll go to county general, and then we'll start trying to garnish the monthly wage, which the judgment is for a total of about $90-some thousand, so it's going to be forever before we could ever collect. Of course, what we,
Right,
Well, Cedar Valley is their own city, then Cimarron National their own city?
not
No,
Cimarron
no,
National, Cedar
Cimarron-
Valley is.
Cimarron National and Cedar Valley are 2 golf courses that happen to be in the township of Cedar Valley.
We got here a tax going to Cimarron or Cedar Valley, then Cimarron.
Cimarron City,
Cimarron City,
Where would they
I
get?
don't know.
I don't
that's
know.
over on your side of the world,
I
isn't
don't
it?
know, but I don't know where they would get a tax from, because I don't think they take in that convenience store.
Is that little bar fall into
Maybe
there?
that little barn.
Perry's Roadhouse.
little barn, big barn. And then Meridian doesn't have.
Hey, up in North Logan County, that ain't a big one. It's probably the only one up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not too many,
In Logan County it
Yeah.
is.
not too many up there in Logan County.
Well, I'll take
6
that
months.
back to Pump Jack over there.
Yeah, that's true. Forgot about that one.
That's mine.
That's not my dirt there.
Not anymore.
But even Meridian gets one, but they
Then
don't
they'll
have
need
a
a
bar,
signature.
but that's that very minimum that all the towns get. 'cause
Well, like I
they're
said,
incorporated.
hopefully we'll be able to get pushed through so we've been sitting on that money. I mean, it's clogging up the books now for many years because of their situation.
Yep.
Alcoholic beverage concluded the consent agenda as soon as Morgan's done with
Do
it.
you know when that land might come back to us so we can put that up?
And that's
Say, oh,
all
that's
part of
that
what,
part.
we have the judgment, it will come back, but it's a
Yeah.
process in how we get the title.
Yes, they are.
I'll move on consent agenda items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Consideration of possible action on approving payment of claims for May.
There's the printout. Look at how small a stack of these we have this
Oh,
month.
my.
I'm afraid that won't be mine.
Just once, okay. All those checks.
we're just wanting to get a front end alignment for $80. I wanna sign up.
I'm not sure that,
Is that ours? Logan,
yeah, Wilkins.
Look pretty cheap.
that's pretty standard.
Inexpensive, not cheap, inexpensive.
That's
I
pretty
like it.
standard, I think.
Man. Anytime I take one in for, front end, it's always $1,000.
Where do you take it?
Oh, you gotta have A-frames and all
Yeah.
that, you know, it's yeah. It's just where, actually, when my wife takes it in, it's, yeah.
This is bad, that's bad, their
Yes,
process.
yeah.
Went to the Firestone store in Edmond to get a flat fix. They wanted $35 to fix a flat tire. That's how they stay in business.
There was two there, Monty, did you get both
I
of
think
them?
I did. That's what she paid. I think I stopped in half the other day, bought windshield wipers from my truck. Passed up for the church. A damn windshield wiper,
Over $20?
a piece.
Wow.
You gotta be kidding me.
I have a question for you, three. One of the things I was reading online with all the flooding in Texas, and granted, they've had things that we
Sure.
haven't come where near, but the problem with the snakes. Have you read about this? The flood, because the water's too cold and too fast, the snakes are trying to escape, and they're finding them in houses and across the roads and piled into vehicles, just this mass invasion of snakes.
I've seen
And I
quite a
just,
few on
and I
roads
just was
lately.
wondering with what even a little bit we've had you noticed any out and about more?
I tell you, I picked a sign up the other day and there was two underneath it. I said some bad words before they shot me.
We had an individual who is, I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was in the district, and he came up with cottonmouth. I mean, cottonmouths are very aggressive, and this one was trying to get him.
That will end claims.
I guess you can be sure that Samuel L. Jackson will probably make a movie about it.
I'll make a motion on the claims.
Snakes in a flood.
Second, yeah.
Oh, I had an employee got bit by a snake the other day, though.
Hey, the fellas were over at Cimarron at that culvert that's washing out over there. They one of the fellas inside that, we were rolling out a hose that we were pumping through, and he run into two snakes in there. Kinda pulled up. And,
He got bit.
I mean, no, he's a brave fella, I mean, he didn't get bit, he got bit at, and he stayed in there. And
I just
Junk.
wondered with what little we've had.
I wouldn't,
because Texas
I
is
wouldn't have
awful.
done
I don't do
Yeah,
snake.
wow.
I saw, there was a picture of one of the boats on the lakes down there, the whole back end of it is a massive snake.
it. All right.
Awful. Chairman, number 19.
All citizens need to be heard, wanting to be heard, or desiring to, whichever, anyhow, not hearing anyone. Item 20, comments, announcements, questions by the Board of County Commissioners. I have none.
Only thing I got, do we want to have a special meeting to fill out an estimate need, so when we get to that point, we'll have it, or do y'all want to wait? That's the only thing I got.
I think we should have one, but I think we should probably look at the date and kind of get back together. What we got Monday, we got another meeting, right?
Right.
So we can talk about that Monday, about when we'd like to set that. I mean, if you don't mind,
I don't mind.
we'll still on that for over the weekend and
Yeah.
kind of figure that
No
out.
problem.
I did have a deal for 21 too. That motion.
No, and I did,
Second.
talk to Dave there just shortly, and he doesn't seem to think we're gonna have to come up with enough damage to be able to apply for FEMA funds, so
I don't know how you came up with that, but
I don't either.
I mean, because he definitely hasn't seen my damage.
Right. I didn't know if you'd reported your damage
I
to
have
him
not.
or anything.
Second.
All right, adjourned.
Aye.
Aye.
Carries. Out of here.
Marvin, did you want the copy of this bid back?
Oh, I don't need it.
Okay.
I need the trailer now,
You need the what?
the trailer.